it's time for our In the Turn interview, sponsored by Distinctive Auto Body, located at 203 Bedford Street in Whitman. He started racing go-karts when he was 11 and a half years old, and in 1980 he began racing in full-bodied race cars. 1981 track champion in the sportsman division at Danbury Fair Race Arena. When Danbury closed that off-season, he moved to Waterford Speed Bowl, where he won Modified Rookie of the Year honors in 1982. In 1983, he moved up to the NASCAR North Tour, and he was the Series Rookie of the Year. In 1985, he made his Cup Series debut at Atlanta Motor Speedway, but he found his best success in the NASCAR Busch Series, collecting 15 victories, 118 top tens, and winning back-to-back championships in 1996 and 1997. Randy LaJoie joins us on the phone. Randy, pleasure to talk to you.
Hey, what's happening, guys?
Hey, Randy, how's it going? This is Sully from NASCAR.
Doing good.
What's going on? This is Chad from NASCAR. Good to talk to you, Randy.
And Miles here with you. So let's jump right into things. Tell us, how did you catch the racing bug, Randy?
Oh, it was easy. Going to Danbury, watching my dad race at Danbury, and I learned a lot of good, bad, and indifferent from all the people at Danbury. It was an amazing club atmosphere when it was. They had anywhere from, I think, 4,000 to 8,000 people weekly. One advantage to me when it closed down is that I left and I had to go somewhere else. Otherwise, I would still be there. At the time, my dad would win a 25-lap race and make $5,000 because they made a percentage of the gate. So from once that closed, headed to Stafford Springs and New London Friday and Saturday nights, and the promoter at New London was running the NASCAR North traveling circuit, and they asked who they had locally that he would put in the car. And he gave them my name, and the rest was, closed wheel history.
You also, let's talk about the local tracks. You won at Dunsbury, the track championship in 1981. What, for us youngsters, and also I want to know, me personally, what it was like at Stafford at those times, and what you remember about being around those tracks and those seasons that you were there.
Well, I mean, the short tracks, Danbury was so unique. I mean, I grew up, being a fan. They didn't let anybody in the pits that wasn't 18. So you had to be 18 to be in the pits. They had no females in the pits. So you grew up in that environment. And then once that closed, we went to Stafford on Friday nights, ran there on Friday nights, and you had a group of people that generations were doing it. My dad was a racer, and, so a lot of guys I was racing against, my dad raced against their dads. So, everybody knew each other, but y'all competed against each other, and it's the coolest thing growing up because you wanted to beat the guy, but then again, y'all went out and had breakfast together.
Well, you won Rookie of the Year at Waterford Speed Bowl, which has its own unique history. What are the memories you have from that?
Well, I mean, it's a wonderful racetrack. I was the first year Danbury closed. We ran there on Saturday nights, me and my dad. I was going for the point championship. My dad was going for his first win of the year. I had to beat the guy I was going for the championship. I had to beat him by, 5 spots. Well, he was on my tail the whole race. And I got to my dad, and he was leading the race. And, it was about 5 laps to go. And there wasn't a whole lot for me to gain because the guy was behind me. And when I got to my dad, I remember years and years and years of him telling me, if you ever lead in the race, you turn the mirror up. He said, you don't want to see where you're going because you want to look where you're going, not where you've been. Well, so I come up behind him, and sure enough, his mirror's turned up. So I give him a couple shots in the butt, and he gave me his fist a couple times. He ended up winning. That was the last race he ever won. So we had some good memories at New London.
So my question is here for. What is it like racing up here in New England? Like, a lot of the local tracks like Stafford, Thompson, Waterford, Seekonk, a lot of things. What is it like racing up here in New England? What makes us different than racing anywhere else on these local short tracks, like a place like Stafford?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much different it is because, I've been to 180 racetracks since I got out of a race car. And it's fun everywhere I've gone. And everybody does it differently. But at the end of the day, it's still racing and competing. And at Stafford and Thompson and Seekonk, I mean, I would go with a guy at Seekonk when he was a pro stock guy. Where we would go up there and go weekly with him. I ran weekly at Stafford. I ran weekly at New London because that's just what you did. Absolutely. And, the old North Tour was wonderful. I mean, we got to visit, I don't know, between Canada and Maine and New Hampshire, Vermont. I mean, there had to be 15 racetracks that you went to. And it was, they're all packed out and they're all different crowds.
Let's shift gears here and talk about your Cup Series debut at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Tell us what you remember about your debut and maybe a favorite memory from your Cup Series tenure.
I've never had too good of luck in the old Cup car. I want to say the first time at Atlanta, I might have gained some weight, and my legs went numb halfway through the race. We ended up, we qualified, I think, 14th, and we finished 14th. Probably had a handful of laps down if I had to guess. But, I thought I was going fast, and Cal Yarborough went by me. He was leading the race, and I thought he was fighting somebody in there. I was like, oh, my goodness. I said some bitches swatting flies in that car. And I know how he's leading. I was, okay, maybe he's trying a lot harder than I am.
So most of your success came in the Busch Series, 15 wins, back-to-back championships, before finally breaking through for your first win in 96. You had quite a few runner-up finishes. Let's talk a little bit about your time as a Busch Series team owner for LaJoie Racing.
Well, a K&N car. Then when I was, before, I was 92, 93, I owned my own stuff, and it wasn't a lot of fun because you get a lot of promises. 89 and 90 area, right through there, right when I moved south. I bought a couple of cars after Moroso went to Cup cars. I bought two of his championship-winning Buicks, and I turned them into Fords, and the Ford stuff never showed up. So it kind of put me out of business.
You had your first win in '96, and that must have been one hell of a day. Let's talk about that one day.
At a wonderful racetrack at Nazareth, PA, which is a 5-turn, weird shape, uphill, downhill.
Yep.
Rest in peace.
Driver racetrack. 130 degrees. El Nino was around. It was hot. We had them covered. And I beat David Green. And it was a great day.
Was that one of those I'm going to dominate kind of days, and you just went with it all day long?
The car was good, and every time we changed tires, we never hurt ourselves on pit road. I thought, this is good. This is good. Changed tires, and the car was just as good. A lot of times it's a gamble. After you do a pit stop, you come out, and your first turn, you're like, what the hell did they do here? Because it's, it don't turn, and the ass end comes around. You're like, what the hell? It used to be perfect. And all they do is change tires. So that's a good day when you get all the same tires are real consistent.
So my question comes from here. In the Busch Series, which is now the Xfinity Series, you had 2 wins up in the Northeast. We had Dover, and then, which is your home track, which is actually all of our home track, which is New Hampshire. What did it mean for you to win at New Hampshire? Because to see our drivers win at New Hampshire means a lot to us. So what is it like to you to win at New Hampshire?
Oh, I mean, that's 30% of the crew guys from there. You know, sponsors were from there. I was there when it was Breyer Motorsports Park in '85. So, you know, been there a few times. Seen what it was to what it become was cool. But anytime that you win close to the house, we always had bus trips. My dad would organize 2 or 3 buses, and with my family and then friends, and so okay, we had 3 buses full of people. At least I know I had a cheering squad. So anytime you did that, it made you feel a whole lot better.
So 1996 was your first of back-to-back championship runs, running for Base Motorsports. What did that first championship mean to you, Randy?
You know, it kind of solidified, you know, what you thought you can do. Not many people gave you a second thought that you can do it. And, you know, we kind of did it on our own terms. And that was cool. And to come back, you know, yeah, Johnny set a pretty good benchmark. You know, when he got out of the car, they won a championship. And I was like, okay, I've never seen any of these racetracks. I want to do at least as good as Johnny did, because he won 2 races and he won a championship. So I want to at least win 2 races. So after you won the first one, you know, that's the hardest one ever to win. And then they say they come a little easier, but they usually don't. But you get on a roll and something, it seems like it is easy sometimes. So that was the best part of it.
So 1997 started with a victory in the season opener at Daytona, first of 3 season opening wins for you. Followed that by 3 more wins, South Boston, Milwaukee, and IRP. How did you find success at the short tracks in the Busch Series?
Well, we had a combination. We built a special short track car. I don't know where we came up with the name, but her name was Ellie Mae. And that was a couple-of-a-kind car from the chassis builder. It was kind of an experiment, and it worked. And that thing was darn fast. Old Ellie Mae, that car on the short tracks was just really, really good.
All right, so I have a question. I have to know this. All right, in your Busch Series, you and Buckshot Jones, his
name is Roy.
Are you guys okay now? Have you guys forgiven each other, or are you just both still just? I mean, like, I agree with you. When he did on Bristol was totally wrong. Like, I'm with you on that one. What he did to Bristol was wrong. But how are you guys? You guys okay? Do you guys talk, or?
Yeah, I've never sent him a Christmas card. I've never got one from him. And I got a call from him. I was in Nebraska at a racetrack. I was leaving the racetrack, heading to the hotel, and he was on Claire B. Lang.
Oh,
it was a throwback weekend, and I was like, oh, is this Buckshot Jones I'm listening to, and I'm in Nebraska? I was like, are you kidding me? Well, no sooner does the interview stop, my phone rings at Atlanta. I was like, the guy's not on my phone. Hello? Hey, Randy, Buckshot. I was like, really? I was like, okay, I just listened to you. Oh, yeah, we're all good. I said, yeah, it's great. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can't close my eyes in the shower. Okay, perfect. Everything spins. Oh, yeah, I'm going to like that guy.
Oh, man.
So,
well, we got a Facebook Live feed, and one of our faithful, Dusty Kroger, asked me to ask you about the 1998
Coca-Cola 600.
Coca-Cola 600 incident with Senior.
Budweiser car.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had a great car. I would have shit pit stops all day, and
We are on live radio.
spots. Oh, sorry. And Senior, Schrader, Stiller Marlin, Ernie Irvin. I would pass those 4 guys, and then we have a pit stop. And they would pass me on pit road, and then I would pass those 4 guys.
Passing the 4 same cars all day.
Correct. Well, okay, now it's the last 20 laps of the race, and Earnhardt was the last one of those 4 cars I was passing. And the other 5 times I passed him, he made it a whole lot easier. And he didn't make it easy. He slammed me in the door, getting into 3, and that was a new 5x5, no spoiler rule. And, we just lost our air, and we ended up wrecking. And I'm sitting there, and I see him getting out of his car. We're nose to nose, so we're not 10 feet apart. And I can't get out on my left side because the wall is there. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. But he comes over, and he takes the window out, and he throws it in the car. And he looks at me. He says, "You all right?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "What the F happened?" I said, "We wrecked." "Yeah, okay, I'm coming out."
That's great.
Oh, that's a
Person
great.
said, "You all right?" And then he asked what happened.
That's all right.
So, Randy, nowadays you're running your own seat fitting company. It's called The Joy of Seating. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, we're year 25 in. It's a different world we're living in. You do business, with certain people for 20 years that do our stampings and stuff like that, and then COVID hits and they stop. And you're like, whoa, what happened now? So we've had plenty of curveballs thrown at us because, we're working at a different process with our seats. It's a stamped product. It's not a flat sheet that we get to bend into a square box. We kind of make ours. I put a round plug in a round hole, I tell everybody. So we've had our challenges the last couple of years with supplies and all of this stuff. But it's going well. We're really pushing the markets to go to rated seats. NASCAR has had rated seats since 2010. The short track guys, I figured we're going to be 5 years behind them. And, well, here we are, we're 13 years behind them. And the short track guys, 50% of them have a rated seat. Mandatory. And we have to make that, the industry needs to make that better because everybody knows a rated seat are better than non-rated seats.
Nice. Your son, Corey, he's been blazing his own trail up through the Cup Series, and he's been kind of doing it in his own fashion, trying not to run off of your name. He's been doing it his own way. How do you feel about what your son Corey's been doing?
I can't be more proud of both of my boys. I mean, one works for Colleague Racing, and Corey, what he's done, mainly not even behind the wheel. Everything he's done behind the scenes for his charities that he does, his kickball classics, he donates to the YMCA, he donates to Samaritan's Feet. The stuff that he does off the racetrack with his platform is simply amazing to watch. His Stacking Pennies podcast,
which we're fans
he
of.
brings a different insight to everything. He's very knowledgeable about the sport. He's grown up in it. He's probably seen me do a lot of things that he's probably not going to do the same way. So, he does well in that social media stuff. A lot of people tell me I don't watch. I don't care to. So it's just as well. Because both my boys told me when that stuff came out, don't do it, Pop, you'll go to jail. I said, okay, good.
So before I get to my question, I just wanted to say shout out for the seat thing, because thank you for making this sport much safer. Thank you for actually caring about the drivers, which is one thing, we've looked at how many accidents in before, so thank you so much for what you've done with the seating. You've changed the sport. So Seriously, us fans, we appreciate it. And we were just talking about your son, Corey. Well, you're a grandfather now. So, what's your new role like in life? Like, what's been going on with the grandkids?
Wow, it's so much fun. The 2.5-year-old, he likes me, which is wonderful. And we'll hang out at the shop on Sundays. Corey's been working on motorhomes, trying to figure out what he's doing. But most of the time they're here on Sundays. So we just have a really good. I like him being the grandpa, and the wife is like being the Mimi.
That's
nice.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Awesome. So,
yeah.
Randy,
now, Corey, back in the day when I ran, I could call myself a crash test dummy. But this newfangled world we're living in, I can't call Corey a crash test dummy. He is our data acquisition technologist.
That's what it's called now. That's awesome.
oh, that's great.
Thank you for teaching me something new.
So, Randy, as we always like to end these interviews with this question, when your time is up here on Earth, how do you, Randy LaJoie, want to be remembered to the race fans?
I cared and I had a good time.
Absolutely.
Short and sweet.
Awesome. Yeah.
Nice. A lot of people go on and on and on and on, and we're like, yeah, okay,
I think this
whatever.
is one of my favorite interviews we've done so far. Randy, you've been awesome.
No problem.
So, Randy, an absolute pleasure, and we hope to see you at a track or at a short track here on down the line. We appreciate your time.
Actually, one last question. Would you ever do SRX?
I was a pace car driver last year.
Oh, yes, you
That's
were.
right.
And then the year before was Johnny Benson.
I would like to be a real pace car driver. No, my days of climbing. I did some tire testing back in the day when Phoenix got reworked. We went out there and did a lot of tire. I went out with a handful of champions: David Green, Grissom, Frank Kimmel, Knopfsinger, Timmy Fedowa. And we ran around a bunch of cars, and there's a lot of stuff that was moving that shouldn't have been moving. and I was like, okay, what the hell's going on here?
Well, hopefully we'll see you at Stafford on
Spring Sizzler.
Yeah.
Hopefully, or the SRX series.
I tell people if they see me climbing in a window, I'm going to come out the front door and I'm stealing a television.
Excellent. Randy LaJoie, two-time Busch Series
Thank you so much,
champion.
Randy.
And a great time, great interview. We appreciate your time, Randy. Thank you so much. You're listening to Miles on Motorsports.